Joining us right now, we have got a guest with maybe a little more of the same situation we're having in Charleston, Sheriff Thomas Hodgson. Good morning, Sheriff. How are you? Wait a minute, I got to turn your mic on here. How are you this morning?
I'm great. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you're Bristol County, Massachusetts. Not exactly a quote-unquote border town like we're hearing with a lot of the folks here. What are the immigration problems that you're having?
Well, first of all, let me clarify one thing about border towns. The idea that people that are coming across the border are going to stay right there and take the chance of getting caught is pretty slim.
Right.
They're being shipped all over the country. And frankly, Massachusetts, Boston and Atlanta, if you talk to Border Patrol, those are the two areas that the illegals are talking most about to settle in. Yes. So we also have a couple of mayors who have established sanctuary cities.
Right.
We had a former governor who basically said it's hands off on illegals, stopped the state police from being able to work with ICE and so forth. So all of that is well known amongst the illegal group, and so we're seeing a great influx of people coming into Massachusetts. Our problems, frankly, have everything to do with every other community across this country, and that is crime. In addition to the overcrowding of our schools, the medical issues. Interestingly, I was on a radio talk show host in Boston about a week and a half ago, and a caller called in and said, "Sheriff, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure." He said, "How many illegal aliens do you see across this nation on street corners panhandling versus homeless veterans?"
Right.
And when you think about it, it really puts it into perspective. You don't see the illegals out there doing that because when they get here, they're given everything that they need for violating our laws.
Right.
The veterans who have given back and made the sacrifices and their families have to struggle. The president's talking about cutting military salaries for a third time.
Right.
So this whole issue of illegal immigration not only creates a level of unfairness around the law, it creates an incredible burden financially, educationally, and so forth on our healthcare system.
So how are you, doing the best you can in combating the problem in Massachusetts?
Well, actually going on shows like yours
Right.
who are great to get the information out to the public. I've been, I did an actual seminar for about 3 hours in the heart of our immigrant community, sponsored by 4 or 5 immigrant restaurants. And I basically opened up with a picture of a back, sort of a cul-de-sac area of backyards, nicely manicured with fences and so forth. And in one of those yards, I told everybody, look at this next picture. There was a tent. The next picture had the tent with a guy in it. I said, you walk to your kitchen window, you see this, what are you going to do? We'll call the police.
Right.
And this example is exactly what's happening with immigration in America. So you call the police show up, say, "I'm sorry, ma'am, there's nothing we can do." If he made it over your fence, he gets to stay. Not only that, you have to provide him food, health care if he needs it.
Yeah.
Once they get to school, make sure that he has transportation to get there. And by the way, if he leaves your neighborhood under the new PEP program that the Obama administration started, if he decides to leave your backyard and break into people's homes, well, you can call us all you want, but we can't do anything to get this guy out of here until such time as he's been convicted for at least 3 misdemeanors.
3 misdemeanors.
3 misdemeanors. That's what this PEP program did when they gutted secure communities. It broadened it out so it allowed illegals to commit more crimes before they could be considered for deportation. And most Americans don't know these things.
You would think just being here illegally would make you eligible for deportation, but you have to be here illegally and then meet all these other criteria before you're sent back. That's unbelievable.
Right. And the surge on the border right now is as bad as it's ever been. So no immigration reform, that's legitimate immigration reform is going to happen until you secure the border. Until you do that, none of it matters. Some other things that the public aren't aware of in my area, much like others, I built an immigration detention facility at my facility.
Yeah.
No state money. I did it because I didn't want taxpayers paying to ship people from my region down to Texas and everywhere else. And I was averaging about 220 criminal illegal aliens in that facility every day.
Right.
When they put this PEP program in, it went down to 65.
65.
Plymouth County had 300. Theirs population went down to 50. I confronted Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson about this in a meeting in Washington and said, "Secretary, can you tell me where the balance of my people are?
Right.
That were there every day, the criminal illegal aliens we were holding. Well, under the new PEP program, they're not being picked up. because they have more chances for more crimes, right?
That's unbelievable.
The other thing that's happening is I had one of my ICE agents who works periodically at our place said, you know, Sheriff, we were talking about this. We have 10 outstanding felony warrants in Rhode Island, which borders my county.
Right.
And these guys, all 10 of them, committed crimes, were deported, came back, and now have outstanding felony warrants. We know about where they are, all 10 of them.
Right.
And we've been told by our higher-ups in ICE that we cannot act on those warrants until such time as they commit another crime.
So they've got felony warrants out against them.
Yes.
And they have to go. We got to go one more. Got to go one more before we can get them.
Right. Or who knows how many more before they finally get caught. The other thing is, which most people don't know, the Obama administration has gutted ICE. They put the handcuffs on them, and basically, right now, the fugitive cases,
right?
All fugitive cases that exist prior to January 1st, 2014, the individuals cannot be deported under the Obama policy, which means 90% of the fugitive cases outstanding will not be acted on by ICE. They've been told they cannot act on them. Anything after 2014 doesn't much matter because they're not letting them go out and enforce the laws.
Yeah. So that's not only immigration amnesty, that's criminal amnesty.
Sure. And look at the people around the world, the 5 million that are sitting behind their borders, respecting the laws of the United States, still waiting their turn, willing to pay the thousands of dollars. Look, I'm the son of an immigrant.
Right.
My father came here from England. And, you know, my father raised 13 children and set a great example for us and told us that laws matter, rules matter.
Right.
And if we don't follow rules and laws in this country, we basically are destroying the foundation that protects our democracy, because without that structure, we can't have a democracy, and anybody in the future that wants to come here and enjoy America as we know it won't have that opportunity. And so this is a serious problem, and, you know, I blame Congress as well. I've been working on immigration reform since 1998 when Henry Hyde and Barney Frank were working together to file a bipartisan bill which got through the House, but it didn't make it through the Senate. And I remember somebody telling me in one of the senator's offices, this bill will never go through. Yeah. I said, why? It's a pretty basic bill. It's not comprehensive. Things make sense. Because it's a presidential year and nobody's going to pass it through. The Democrats going to want to look good to the immigrant community. The Republicans do.
And they're up there, but they're trying to make this the new civil rights campaign.
No question about it. And let me tell you something. The Democrats had the majority. Yeah. Right? They had the majority for all of Obama's first term, and they never once filed a bill on gun legislation. Right. Not once. And they've sat every day, read the papers. They know what's going on. All of us do in Chicago. 1,800 shootings since January in Chicago. And how many people are killed? They have 2-year election cycles, and they'll only dabble on it just enough to make people believe they're doing something. But more often than not, the little suggestions they have, even the Gang of Eight, I said from day one, too broad. Right. You guys haven't drilled down. You're just doing something, both parties, to try to get the issue away from you. And you came to some agreement, like, let's not get the immigrant community pissed off at us. Right? So let's try to level this thing out, just create the surface sort of thing that we're dabbling in this part of it and that part of it. It was never going to work. I knew that from day one. Yeah. And that's why we protested against it. The sheriffs, several sheriffs were there at that announcement. And we said no. They just want to do things cosmetically. Yes. That's the best way to put it. That's exactly what it is.
They don't want to go in and solve the actual problem.
You hit the nail on the head. And you know what? America deserves better than that. Yeah. We deserve better than that. We've elected these people. We blindly trust them to go to Washington and work every day and on our behalf. And what happens is they get under the dome, and it's insider baseball. Which chairmanship can I get? What caucus do we have to do to go after the other caucus? Right. And meanwhile, people like us are outside going, hey, we need some help over here. You know, we got problems over here. We need some help. And nobody can hear us. You know why? They're too busy doing their little sit-in in their show to try to pretend that that this is going to do something. That's going to do nothing. And it's a waste of time.
It seems like the voice of the American people does not get past that dome. You're exactly right. And what would tell us again, what year are they erasing all of the criminal
2014, January 1,
2014.
Anything before that.
Unbelievable.
Anything before January 1, 2014. no fugitive cases are going to be brought forward. People will not be deported.
Unbelievable. How frustrating is that to you as a law enforcement officer?
Look, I'll tell you this much. I have never been more certain that the sheriffs of the United States, it is our time in history, and we need now to step forward. People trust us. We're elected by them, and they see us as their standard bearer of public safety.
Right.
They expect us now to lead, and I'm calling on all the sheriffs around the country to join forces, and let's stop with the marginalization of law enforcement. Let's demand that Congress start doing their job, drill down like we do every day, and deal with people's issues.
Unbelievable. All right. And what would you say to those sheriffs who, in these sanctuary cities, what would you say to those guys?
Stand up for America and do not be involved and be party to violations of federal law, because that's exactly what that is, violating federal law. When you say, particularly after 9/11, we're not going to work with ICE and give them. Think about this, and I know you probably have to go, but I just want to make this last point. If any elected official, mayor, sheriff, anybody, who believes that law enforcement should have less tools than is otherwise available through collaboration, sharing of intelligence, and all that to keep people safe, don't belong in public office.
That's true.
Bottom line. That's where the rubber meets the road, and that's where all of us have to stand up for America and do what's right for the people that elect us.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Sheriff Thomas Hodgson. Buddy, you take care. Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck to you.